Welcome to the Rudy Show. This is Rudy Reyes. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is a fantastic show. I don't know if I'm more sad or disappointed right now in what's going on with the Washington Redskins, or the team that doesn't have a name,
Yeah.
technically. And here to talk about that, of course, is Fred Smoot, former cornerback for the Washington Redskins, or now formerly known as the Redskins. Fred, thanks for joining me this afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I think you just got to call it the Washington Football Club. If you really want to be politically correct right now, I think you want to call it just the Washington Football Club.
Washington Football Club. Okay, for those that don't want to call it the Redskins, Washington Football Club. There was a
Yeah.
guy who tweeted out earlier about his registered name through this agency to acquire a patent to get all the names possibly remotely related to the Redskins. Why? I don't know. But it happened earlier this month, and the Red Wolves were part of that. Now, I know he's a bottom feeder, maybe. I don't know. But people
Mm-hmm.
are out there stating that the NFL could easily pull this and make an argument that the Red Wolves could be a name that the Redskins could be using in lieu thereof, having the Washington Red Wolves, which I think is a really catchy name. I like it. What are your thoughts about the NFL being able to pull this name out from underneath this guy's rug to use it?
I would love it because it reminds me of when COVID first hit, everybody went and started hoarding tissue. You saw people walking out every grocery store with like just piles of tissue. So this is what this dude is doing. He's hoarding names, and he wants to hold us prisoner. So hopefully the NFL, hopefully they can come up with an agreement. But I'm sorry, I'm Red Wolves all the way. A lot of people say they like the Warriors. When I hear the name Warriors, I think Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I think already established brand. I think they give you something new. And if you look at the mascots in the NFL, we're dominated by birds. All right, the animal kingdom in the NFL is dominated by birds. We got to get some more dogs in here besides the Browns.
Well, you're on the right show at the Rude Dog Show, so maybe that could be something. They can't take that from me. That's mine, all mine. They can't have it. But you're talking about the animal kingdom and how the NFL is dominated. But don't forget, you have the cats. You have the cat. So why not a dog? Why not? I'm an
Why
opponent
not?
of that.
I'm saying, and then what I really love about the wolf is they run in packs. They only exist and they thrive. The more of them it is, the more dangerous they become. It allows our fan base to grow. It allows us to start to recruit the youth and give them some jerseys that they'll love to wear, some merchandise they'll love to wear. And it's unifying. Everybody wants to get in there. I would love to take my daughters and my son and just howl like a wolf on a Monday night with the full moon out. I think it's just so much you can do with it, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. There's a lot to be said for the Red Wolf Kingdom, I guess. I don't know, Red Wolf Pack. I think the Red Wolf Pack sounds pretty good and like a following, right? Because everybody's gonna howl at the moon when they're all inside of the
Oh
stadium
no,
when Dwayne Haskins lead them down.
I'm gonna say they're gonna break in so many fashions in the stadium. They're gonna have groups. This will be the Wolf Pack over here. This will be the Wolf Den over here. This will be the Werewolves over here. This will be the Stark family over here. There's so many monikers you can play with when it comes to the Wolf.
Well, yeah, I would like to think that maybe this could be the actual name. Maybe. I know the NFL has their hands full with the other situations surrounding Daniel Snyder and the apology, and we'll get into that in a minute in regards to fans and the fan base overall. But I think the Red Wolves is a really good name. I think it's a solid name. And looking at all the logos, I mean, if you go to Fred Smoot's Twitter line, it's just loaded with Red Wolf everything from helmets to jerseys to outfits. Which one is your favorite?
Man, I've seen a lot of units, and that's what I love about this fan base. Very educated, creative fan base, and they throwing out all of these concepts, and they're continually to get better. We even got a short-lived film that we did that it's four wolves, and they're walking up to this big wolf. So one wolf is John Allen, the other one is Deron Payne, the other one is Mad Eye Knight, the other one is Sweat, and they walking up to this other wolf that's transforming, and that's Chase Young, and he's transforming into this big alpha wolf. They coming up with so much great stuff. It really, I think, it's invigorated the fan base, especially going through the dark times we're going through now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think fans would want to see a change. And of course, they've been expecting this change for quite some time. And what's really interesting for those that aren't aware of this, in 2014, demonstration against the Redskins name and logo was held outside TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis before they'd taken on the Minnesota Vikings. And I personally, because I'm a man of color,
Hmm.
I have part, Native Americans, a little
Hmm.
Choctaw.
Hmm.
It doesn't really get underneath my skin. What have you heard and seen and recognized that could be the reason for this name change, and people obviously are on board for it?
Well, I just did a town hall meeting on the news, the local news station here, where we had a Native American, and she was on there, and she told us why it was so. She felt like it was so disrespectful. She told me why it was so hurtful. She told me why she grew up and people looked at her different and said hurtful things to them, and just educated me. Educated me on back the fact that they don't, natives don't even like to be called Indians. That's disrespectful. So, if Indians is disrespectful, Redskins, it can only be worse. So at the end of the day, I just think it's about dialogue, and that's something that I had a chance to do with a lot of people through the radio station, Team 980, through the news town hall, talking to them, sit down, listen. Just because it don't affect everybody of the same color, creed, don't mean it don't affect the certain groups of it. And then you always have to look at the kids, man, the kids that's coming up. Why should they have to go through it? Why, they didn't ask for that. So I'm one of them people, man. I feel for other people, and I love to listen. I love to talk, but I love to listen.
Listening is where you get your talking points from. So there you go. And I can only imagine the actual look in her face, and just it would just resonate with me being able to really look at and identify with what she is currently feeling right now, and along with lots of other Native Americans, in relation to what's going on with the whole name change outside of the other issue we're going to talk about here in a minute. But what is your general consensus? Could this, it was supposed to happen Monday, and so we still don't
Yeah,
have a new name. Is there
yeah.
is there a deadline set for this that you know of?
I don't, I don't think it's a deadline, because think about it. This will be the fastest trademark and name change of all time. Like literally 3 weeks ago, we got the first hint of Pepsi Cola coming out, Fred Smoot and FedEx coming out, and this just happened 3 weeks ago, and it's already concrete that the name will change, and now you have to literally go through the rebranding. I don't know if it happens in the next week or two or three or four. Now, in a perfect world, would Dan want to get it going as soon as possible? I'm sure he would. But I'm sure it's a lot of legal things that had to happen, a lot of imagery that has to be born. And that's why I think he has the advantage of using the fan base. How about you use the fan base and let them help you? Let them work pro bono. Let them work on with their fandom. And then we can come up with these ideas, and we can push the process along a lot faster.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know that Daniel Snyder has that to worry about. He has bigger fish on his plate he has to contend with right now. And sadly, we got to shift gears to this topic. Not a favorite topic. I'm sure fans throughout Redskin Nation, football, Washington Club Nation, and whatever you want to call it right now, are really consumed with the fact that there were 14 and who knows how many more. And this isn't just picking on the Washington Football Club as we know it in regards to culture, diversity. There's been a lot of talk in regards to these women, and I'm sure there are more again throughout different NFL teams that have probably experienced very similar types of
Mhm.
harassment. But because this is Dan Snyder, this isn't the first time. I mean, there were rumors about the Redskin cheerleaders, which I happen to follow just a couple of them, and vice versa, in regards to sexual harassment. And Dan Snyder, of course,
Yeah.
look, this happened on his watch. All these allegations, this entire situation happened on his watch. Whether or not he was the one involved in the harassment verbally and directly, he was still a part of the situation. And this is by far the biggest black eye to any outside of any type of gate involving the New England Patriots. This is by far the worst of the
Yeah.
worst. Dan Snyder apologized for this. What does this apology mean to you?
Well, the one thing I have to tell people, first of all, about Dan, He's just not a good speaker. He's a very shy person. He literally got on the mic in the middle of the summer and said, "Happy Thanksgiving." He's uncomfortable when it comes to public speaking. That just never will be his thing. And I played for different coaches here. And I'm going to tell you who sets the culture. The head coach. Joe Gibbs, none of this goes on because Joe runs the building. Belichick runs his building. The coach, first of all, let me start out by saying this. No woman should have to go through that in her workplace. No woman should not feel like she cannot come to work every day and comfortably do her job. No woman should have to literally worry about walking into a door and going to clock in and do her job. No one. In saying that also, like I said, Dan was one of those people when I was there, he was there every day. He watched every practice. He ate lunch with us. He ate breakfast with us. And the last couple of coaches have told him, let them run that building. And he stepped away in the last 18 years. Everybody tell you that Dan is never over there. He's never doing anything. And maybe it's one of those situations, damned if he do, damned if he don't. Because when he got his hand on the throttle, then they say he's too involved in the day-to-day. And when he steps away, then he's not involved enough in the day-to-day. And that's why I'm so happy we got Ron Rivera around here. Coach Rivera has been a godsend. He went through a similar situation down there with Richardson in Carolina. He's been a rock when it comes to everything that's going on right now in around here when it comes to the Washington football team. But like I said, it's like you said, bad black eye. Nobody wants this, and hopefully we can all learn from this and move on from it.
Well, I think learning is probably the biggest curve. And I don't know that, you said, Dan, if you do, damned if you don't. I'm more like Dan, if you do, Dan, if you don't. When they're talking about Daniel Snyder, I don't know Daniel Snyder by any stretch of the imagination, but his apology does hold some merit. And quote, the actions in this story have no place for a franchise or society. As you may be aware, when the past issues outlined in the article were initially brought to our attention, they were addressed at the time. However, some of the issues were brought forth only in the last few days, and we have subsequently made changes and addressed them as well. What changes do you make in an organization? And to your point, no person, no woman, no man, no teenager, no one should experience the type of harassment that has allegedly gone on within the Redskins organization. Whether you're a cheerleader, whether you're a front office secretary, it doesn't matter what you do for any organization, company, business, retail outlet, none of that should ever be applicable to anybody. Is there something wrong with the culture with this Washington football club right now?
When he said he made changes, he fired everybody. Nobody that used to work there last decade is there. Even the voice of the Redskins is new. Why do I keep saying that? I'm sorry. The R word is new. All right. Everything is changed. Like if you go over there right now, Coach Rivera runs pretty much everything. And everybody that's over there hasn't worked there less than 3-4 weeks to 2 months. It's a new world all over there. It's a new atmosphere over there. It's all business, no play over there. I think even a couple of times the players have been over there, they can sense it. He's literally taken everything out, rearranged everything from top to bottom. We don't even have a solid GM right now. He's even handling those duties right now. So I just think what Dan did is just he cleaned house. He cleaned house, and that's the only thing you can do. If you ever want to start over again and build your house right, you have to burn the old one down.
Well, burning the old one down, there's still some embers because, again, this is something that's continually ongoing situation. I wish the best for all the players, for the new employees, for this new moniker. Hopefully they get the namesake taken care of. Hopefully the merchandise is, as you said, fans will be the ones that really dictate how this is going to go in regards to what will be available for them to take ownership, to feel ownership in relation to what they're trying to rebuild. This is a rebuilding, end of story. But those embers that are still kind of illicitly just sparking off continually find their way back into mainstream media with other people that are now claiming the very, very same thing. Do you tend to think there's going to be more to come than just the ones that have already stated that they've been harassed?
Yeah, I didn't hear the last thing you said. I'm sorry. You went
no,
out.
Are you suspect to find out that there could be more people waiting in the wings to also
Oh,
make
this is a
claims?
systematic. This is a systematic thing. This is just not here. This is everywhere. Every form of job. No, nothing shocks me. It's 2020. Nothing shocks me now. Okay. At the end of the day, like they say, if it's smoke, there's fire. It's always going to be people that didn't say anything. All right. So if you get the people that do, they always say, if this amount said something, what about the other 50% that didn't say anything? So yes, I think it's going to be, and I think this is just going to be more of the change that we're evolving in 2020. I think a lot more people going to speak out. And I think this goes far, far, far more than just what goes on at the park over there where we work at. I think you have to literally do this at every job in the world.
Right. Absolutely. I think more of a global approach to this is that no business, no entity, and I may have said this a minute ago, but no business, no entity, no retail outlet, no form of business whatsoever should any woman find herself uncomfortable being around, and shouldn't be a part of that situation, and should find a place where it works for them and they don't have that type of culture there. Now, again, going back to this Washington Football Club situation and the namesake and everything therein, there's just been a lot of bad press. I mean, they used to say, good press is nothing but, whether it's bad or good, at least you're in the news and your name is in the news. This is not the right reason for this Washington Football Club, Daniel Snyder, the apology, and these 14 plus women that should be involved in the news to begin with. His wife got involved and sent a letter to all the team employees regarding the claims. And I think that was probably the best thing she could have done, with her
She's
part of
great.
the ownership being the
Yeah.
wife of
Mhm.
Dan Snyder, to kind of help set the tone and say, look, I'm a woman. I don't get harassed, and nor should you. And this goes beyond Washington. We're talking about NFL teams galore, where maybe they're just not heard of. Maybe they're just not spoken of. You said where there's smoke, there's fire. I think you've got a couple office buildings worth of fire where you're going to see the smoke start rising. Well, seriously, when you see NFL teams and women working for various organizations say, you know what, we need to do something. We need to do it now. This is an NFL situation. And speaking of that, does the NFL get involved in this to the extent of taking draft picks, taking action, forcing Dan Snyder out of ownership? What do you see transpiring out of all of this?
I don't see Dan being forced out of ownership. Of course, you're going to get fined, like you said. Of course, it might be some draft picks. Of course, you'll probably have somebody come in and do some investigations. You'll have, of course, all new protocols, all new rules. That's what it's about. It's about change. And to get change, you first have to identify the problem. Next, you have to come up with the answer and the solution. And third, you got to incorporate change. And I think that's what we're going about. And I think that's what we're going to do here. You just can't sweep it under the rug. But the one good thing that comes from this is going to stay a part of the red moniker. Now we're going to move forward under the new moniker and the new name with a fresh start. Nothing forgotten. But when you say that old name, that's when the bad stuff will pop back up, because it ended in a burns fest. It went down in a crash. But the new moniker is a fresh start, fresh deodorant. The best deodorant for when things ain't going right is winning. If you can win, and you can also, like I said, take that new moniker on, they won't attach it. They won't attach it to it.
Well, hopefully there is no attachment, because now, speaking of attachment, Dwayne Haskins is in his second year as a quarterback for this Washington club. And what's really interesting is people were talking about how they need to make a trade and, get rid of Dwayne. It was a horrible draft pick. Give me your thoughts on Dwayne Haskins in the interim with the time that he had under center.
This is what I hate, when people jump the gun. Like, we in such a microwave society. Sometimes you got to do it like grandma used to do it, and take your time and cook that food and put some love into that food. We're talking about a youngster that didn't even get a lot of playing time at Ohio State. We're talking about somebody that's very raw. We're talking about somebody that got better game in and game out. We're talking about somebody that's getting more weapons. He's a year older. And if you're going to rebuild when you're bringing in the Chase Youngs, our defensive front, you're talking about moving forward with a new stadium, new name, new quarterback, everything fits. I don't think this is what, everybody wants us to bring in Cam Newton. I'm sorry. This was not the perfect situation for Cam. This is the perfect situation for one Dwayne Haskins to give him chance to grow, to give him chance to be the leader of this team. Basically, the guys we got on this team, between the amount of Alabama guys and the amount of Ohio State guys, they don't know how to lose. All right, losing ain't a part of what they do. All right, the standard is different. The name is different. Hopefully, we'll be moving in RFK 2.0, Amazon Stadium. I don't care what it is. Hey, everything's new. And he's going to be the guy that leads us into this future. He's going to be the guy that leads us into this new era. He's going to be the quarterback of the future. I have no doubt about it.
I have no doubt about it either. I mean, you look at 1,365 yards, seven touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, he's one of those guys that really just kind of fits the bill. And you're right, he didn't have a lot of playing time, but he's 6'3". I've seen him on the run. I've seen him from out under center. His QBR is not going to be the best, but he had limited snaps under center this past season. And of course, looking at being the obvious starter. And of course, you're talking about having Chase Young on the other side, a complete sack master coming out early from college. But again, a guy who is after that pass rush. Give me your first thought when they picked up Chase Young.
Well, first of all, I was the biggest cheerleader in the world for them to bring him back home. He's a domestic kid. He played ball here in high school. He's from here. We have 14 to 15 players on this team that has the DMV ties, so they're playing for more than just fame. They're playing for pride from being from this area. And come on, Chase Young is going to give people nightmares. All right, when I think of Chase Young, I think of a hybrid between Julius Peppers and Lawrence Taylor. This kid is exceptional, and he's a workaholic. And I think anytime your best players are workaholics, I think that bleeds into the team. And I'm with Belichick, man. Stats are for losers. I don't care anything about Dwayne Haskins' stats when it comes from last year. All I care about is wins and losses. And I think that's what this team going to have to go through, some growing pains early. And after that, we're talking about a whole era of winning.
I think so. I think Washington did fantastically. Of course, he was all ready to rock and roll when you're talking about signing on board with his hometown team, Washington Redskins, of course, Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. Fred Smoot joins me here on the Rude Dog Show for just a couple minutes longer. Fred, what is the best case scenario you believe moving forward into the 2020 NFL season, despite dealing with the COVID situation with very minimal players showing any positive traits in regards to this pandemic? It seems to be strapping other sports industries.
Well, first of all, we got some sports that's just naturally built for it. If you think about soccer, they never touch the ball besides with their feet. All right. Yes, they're running and they're bumping into each other, but it's one of those things. It's more speed than rough. When you talk about baseball, everybody on the field is already 6 feet apart naturally, besides the hitter and the catcher. When you talk about football, we're already padded up. We already have something that blocks our face now. All we need is an extended glass shield to cover the whole face mask. All right, we have shoulder pads on. We wear tights on our arm, on our leg. We can be fully covered. So I think, when you talk about gladiators that play football, it's a chance they can go out and get the leg broke, arm broke, neck broke. They play a very physical sport. You can't expect them to not want to play because of COVID. They're still going to want to get out there and play. Like, they play a dangerous sport anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. First, who joins me here on the Rude Dog Show. This is Rudy Reyes. Fred, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking your time out. Enjoy the weekend or whatever's left of it if you're not doing anything. Last but not least, I have to ask you, does the Red Wolves name get picked up by the Washington Football Club, and do they just make a step forward?
If it's up to me and the DMV and our fan base, the Washington fan base, if it's up to us, we will be howling at the moon a Monday night when it's a full moon. We will be out there howling all together, 80,000 as Chase Young get a sack. Believe me, that's going to be it's gonna be aesthetic. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be the Redwood.
I think so too. Fred, thank you so much. You're so colorful, so enlightening. I appreciate the insight.
All right, anytime, fella. Anytime.
Thanks,
Don't wait
man.
so long to have me next time. Don't wait.
Yeah,
so
for
long.
sure. We'll do. Thanks a lot, Fred. Take care.
All right, no
Thank
problem.
you. You know, Fred, oh my gosh, Fred is fantastic. Love the colorful nature of his. He's just absolutely an outstanding guy. Fan of the Redskins, fan of the Red Wolves, and I think more importantly, I think the name will get adopted. In regards to Dan Snyder, you know, I have my own personal views in regards to that. Professionally, and I know Fred doesn't want him to be removed, but I think Fred, you know, obviously playing for him and so on and so forth, familiar with him, doesn't want to see him lose his ownership. But I think Dan Snyder probably just needs to go, to be honest with you. Sell that franchise because you're losing sponsor after sponsor after sponsor, Under Armour, FedEx. It's just names are ongoing. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we will be talking to you soon. Thank you.